Hello everyone and welcome to Wiley Online Library Training Session for members of Ermed Consortium. I am Mohit Pabi, your host for today's program. Today's session is titled Introduction to Wiley Online Library. How can it help users of Ermed Consortium? And it will highlight the content on Wiley Online Library featuring journals, and will also take an opportunity to showcase additional content part of online books. What are the benefits of using Wiley Online Library? The basic navigation, browsing, and searching capabilities, where to find citations, altmetric, and impact factor information on Wiley Online Library, how to cite, download, and share journal articles, and there will be certain tips on author guidelines where you find them and why they are important. The session will be presented by L.A. Barciela, the Customer Success Training Manager at Wiley. She has over 10 years of experience with Wiley, working in different roles in editorial, marketing, product development, and customer success. As a training manager, LA works with institutions, universities, corporations, and consortia globally, making sure that users and administrators are equipped to make the most out of Wiley's product and content. She's passionate about learning technology and education. Today's webinar is expected to last about 45 minutes and it will be recorded. The recording will be made available after the session has ended and the link will be emailed to you. As always, we welcome questions from the audience. Please feel free to send through your questions at any time via Ask a Question button located underneath the video player, and stay with us till the end of the presentation for Q&A session. Before I hand it over to LA, I will ask my colleague Rishabh Bajaj, Regional Manager, Wiley India for Northern and the Western region, to share a few words. Rishabh, over to you.
Thanks, Mohit. Hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining in this session. We hope you take back some useful information today about how to properly make use of Wiley online journals accessible under the Ermed Consortium. Ermed is now a very renowned name and one of the most prestigious medical consortiums in India, and has been in existence since the year 2008. We feel privileged to have been associated with National Medical Library for not only administrating and funding this consortium, but also for helping in spreading awareness for the content available under the consortium. In terms of content, 70 Ermed members located in different parts of the country currently have access to 53 Wiley journals, and these are all very reputed, highly used, cited titles of Wiley, published in the areas of medicine and healthcare. Usage for Wiley content has also grown many folds in the last decade, and we really hope to keep contributing towards the success of your journey of research. With this thought in mind, and without consuming your time any further, I would like to end this by thanking you all once again for joining this session today, and we look forward to your active participation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mohit.
Thanks, Rishabh, for your words. LA, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mohit and Rishabh, for the warm welcome. It's really an honor for me to be here with you today remotely, leading this training session exclusive for Ermed Consortium members. And we really hope that after this session together, you feel more empowered to really make the most out of the content that you have from Wiley, and explore all the functionalities and all the features that the Wiley Online Library has. So without further ado, I'd like to present you the agenda that we have prepared for today, which my colleague Mohit was already introducing. This is what I expect to cover with you today. We're going to be taking a look at all the content available within the Wiley Online Library, where we can find both journals and online books. We'll focus specifically on some of those journals that you already have access to, taking examples that you already may be familiar with. And then we'll talk about the benefits of using Wiley Online Library. I really hope that you can feel that this is a good use of your time and feel that this information is valuable to, again, fully make the most out of the content that you have already access to from Wiley. So we're going to cover some of the benefits of accessing and using this content. Then we'll explore how to navigate the homepage and how to access different resources or browse by subject. Something that very often comes up during trainings is where to find citation information, how to cite, where to find information about Altmetric, which, if you don't know, it's a very powerful tool to measure the visibility of content and articles. And of course, where to find information about the impact factor of our journals. So we'll cover all those aspects. And then, of course, we'll do some searches together, apply filters, and find information that could be helpful to all of us. And specifically for journal articles, we're going to see again how to cite, how to download, and how to share content with others. And similarly for online books, how to download full books, chapters, citing, and sharing information. A friendly reminder before we get started with the first agenda item is that this session is being recorded, which means that in about 24 hours, you will be getting an email with a link to the recording, which you can share with your colleagues or just use as a refresher anytime you need. And you also have a number of useful resources on the resource section of your screens, a few links that you could explore at any point or after the training takes place. All right, so let's take a closer look at the content. This is the content that we have available within the Wiley Online Library, up to over actually 1,600 peer-reviewed journals, which include over 8 million articles, over 20,000 online books, over 200 multi-volume references and handbooks, 18 current protocols, and 13 different databases. So this would be the whole universe of content that you could find within the Wiley Online Library. And obviously today we're going to be focusing more on medicine-related, nursing, dentistry-related disciplines, but just to let you know that there are also other disciplines and fields of expertise available within the Wiley Online Library, as you can see on the screen. And what are the benefits? Maybe some of you start to wonder, how can this help me, right? Let's take a closer look here, because I really hope that everyone in this virtual room feels that this is valuable information, right? And after the training, you feel better prepared to tackle and address your next career or professional challenges using this tool. So obviously the first thing that you could do, thanks to the content that you have access to through the Wiley Online Library, is to look up high quality content related to your keywords or topics, right? So this could be the tool number one to go up and look any information that you may need to support your professional needs or your scientific needs. Not only that, it could also help you to stay up to date with what is published. Why is that important? Well, if we want to present ourselves as experts in a certain area of expertise, we may want to stay updated, right? And understand what are the latest controversies or developments or discoveries or techniques. So being a regular reader and checking what content is being published in some of our favorite or most important journals could be an excellent way of positioning ourselves as such experts. Not only that, but also discovering trends very similar to what I was just mentioning. And this could be especially relevant for those of you who are either preparing a manuscript or thinking about writing a manuscript and getting published. And the reason I mentioned that is because, sometimes think that editors would receive many manuscripts, but, sometimes they don't have the opportunity to publish them all. They have to choose. And there's a very strong criteria to select which manuscripts are going to be published, of course, and peer review is a huge part of that. But I do know that also editors take into consideration the relevancy and the importance or the demand for specific content sometimes. So to use a very obvious example, right now, all the content related to COVID-19 or coronavirus, there's obviously a very strong demand to that because there's a huge need in the audience to read more about that and learn more about that topic. So I believe that being a good reader and a regular reader could help you be a better writer too, because it helps you understand your audience's needs. Not only for preparing manuscripts, but also if you need to prepare a scientific communication or a lecture for one of your courses or a presentation for your school or your institution, this is also an excellent resource. Of course, one of the main things that you want to do with this content is cite it, right? Cite content that has been published by other experts to support their ideas or build on their research. We're definitely going to take a look at how to cite and how to export citations. And finally, this is a tool that could help you advance your career as a researcher, faculty member, healthcare professional, or expert. So today we're going to be doing a live demo together where we're going to be exploring those things that we mentioned at the very beginning, right? So we're going to explore the homepage. I want to share with you some useful resources that you could find on the homepage, how to browse by subject, of course, how to cite, where to find information about Almetric and impact factor, and then specifically for journal articles and online books, how to download, share content, and how to cite it. All right, so let's dive in and start with the live demo. And again, we're going to have some time for questions. So my recommendation would be, if you have any questions at some point, if something is not clear, please feel free to use the Ask a Question functionality that you have on your screens to ask any questions. We're planning to address most questions at the end of the session, if that's okay with you. But at any point, please feel free to post your questions. And again, we'll do our best to address them all by the end of the webinar. All right, so I believe you should be able to see my screen now. And right now what you see is the homepage of the Wiley Online Library, right? So you probably access this page in a slightly different way. I just went straight into the URL, which you can see on screen, and this is something you could do anytime, but probably through your virtual libraries pages, you could also find a hyperlink somewhere under digital resources that takes you to the Wiley Online Library page. If you ever have questions about access, your library colleagues are there to help you. So I always encourage anyone to work with them because they're the true experts in your institutions, right? They're there to help. But just to let you know that you could always use this URL to access this site as well. What I did today, which, I'm based in New York, and here in New York, we're all working remotely still due to COVID-19 and coronavirus. So something important that I had to do was accessing remotely, just to verify my access, which is something you may have to do as well. So that's why my main recommendation would be probably try to access through your respective, virtual library pages, just to authenticate your access and really make sure that you're accessing all those 53 journals that my colleague was mentioning that you already have access to. Once you're authenticated remotely, you should see something like access by and the name of your institution right there. The same way I'm able to see access by Wiley on the top center of my screen. The homepage should be the same. So clearly featured in the middle, we see the search bar. This is very straightforward, very intuitive, but still I want to point out a couple of things here on the homepage that you may miss otherwise. So we'll go back to the search later. But if I scroll down a bit, you'll see here that we have a big button saying Access COVID-19 Research here. I want to take a moment here to show you this page because it's a page that we built in the last few months. This is a new resource that we put together. So I want to make sure that you're aware of this. This is a page that we built in the light of the COVID-19 healthcare crisis to gather all the resources that Wiley has ever published about coronavirus and COVID-19. So if you're specifically looking for this information at any point, you could as well run a search, or you could come to this page the way I did and just explore it. You'll see that we have some recent articles here featured. You should be able to access them all without any issues. As you can see, you'll see the padlock icon open here with an indication indicating free access. So absolutely all the content related to COVID-19 and coronavirus is free to access right now by anyone in the world. This is our way, Wiley's way, to support the scientific community, just by temporarily unlocking and providing access to all the research published about this topic. So you should be able to explore all the content here without any problem as well. I'm just going to go back to the homepage, and again, I encourage you to take a few minutes, perhaps after the webinar, and explore this in detail if you need. Something else that I want to show you from the homepage is the resource section. So under resources, we have some helpful information. And the researchers, we have find training and resources. So if you click here, you'll find our new Wiley Online Library Training Hub. This is a page that we've built for users like you to help you get started, to help you use some of the less obvious functionalities, and how to become an expert in using this platform and this technology. We have short, easy videos that will show you how to create an account or log in, which is something you could do very quickly and absolutely for free, to use some of the more advanced functionalities, like saving searches or setting up alerts. Some videos that will show you how to run advanced searches. So you can see the videos are very short, 2, 1, 4 minutes. We know you don't have a lot of time, so we want to make this useful to you. And other useful resources here. So we encourage you to check this out if you ever need, if you're stuck, or if you need a refresher in the future. Keep in mind that for those of you who have administrator roles, you also have a dedicated site that tells you more about reports or other things that administrators may be interested in. All right, well, we hope that's useful. So getting to browsing content, which is a bit more exciting, right? So we have a list of subjects here featured on the homepage, and these will allow you to browse content. Why would I want to do this? Well, if what I want to do is just browse content related to one topic, but I don't have a keyword in mind, right? I don't know what I want yet. I don't have a particular keyword in mind. I just want to take a look and see what is the content available about a particular discipline here. Let's go, for instance, to nursing, dentistry, and healthcare. When I click there, I see that I have different subtopics, right? I can find dentistry, health and social care, intellectual disability, mental health, nursing, etc. I also have a medicine section here with many other subtopics. So you can get an idea, and I could just choose one of these topics, like dermatology. And when I choose this topic, then I am presented with this other screen that shows me another list of subtopics, right? So here I could choose dermatologic surgery, dermatology, dermatopathology, and cosmetic or aesthetic dermatology. I'm going to choose surgery here. And this would be running a search on my behalf, showing me those results related to this subtopic that I chose. So I didn't really have to type any keywords or think too hard about what I wanted. I was just simply browsing and exploring content related to one topic. This is the results page. So every time you browse or run an active search, you'll be seeing this type of screen. I have 20 results here, which are 20 different journals that are related to this topic. Some of the journals that I found are the British Journal of Dermatology, the Australasian Journal of Dermatology, Clinical and Experimental Dermatology, and many more. I could do a couple of things here, right? I could pick one of them and access the journal, which I'm not going to be doing yet, but I will be in a few minutes. Or I could also click on articles and chapters here on the top center. And this is showing me all the articles and chapters from books related to dermatologic surgery, over 100,000. So this shows how rich the content of this platform could be, right? If I want to access any of these articles or content, I could just simply click on one of them, on the article, like this one, and it would be taking me to the article page. Every time we access an article, we're going to be seeing the same elements, right? What are these elements? Well, here, for instance, on the top left side of the screen, we see a banner, head and neck. So this is the Journal of the Sciences and Specialties of the Head and Neck. This is the name of the journal, which is always going to be appearing on the top left side of the screen, clearly indicating where this article comes from. Further below, I see the title of the article. I see that this is an original article, and you're always going to be able to see some indication about your level of access, if it's full access, which is my case right here, if it's free access, or if it's open access. All these three different categories, full access, free access, open access, they mean that you always have access to that content. If for any reason you don't find the padlock open or an access indication, that may mean that you don't have access to that particular content, for which case you could always get in touch with your library colleagues, and perhaps they can arrange how to provide you with access. I also see the name of the authors here, and the first one is the corresponding author, right? I see the little icon there that is showing that's the corresponding author. So if I wanted to get in touch with the corresponding author, I could just go there and get in touch with this person, right? For a collaboration or a question. And I also see that this was published yesterday. Very likely. This was just published yesterday. So of course, there's no citations. Sometimes I would see an indication here of the number of citations, but it didn't have the time, right, to get citations quite yet. It's too recent, too fresh. And I also see the DOI number here. So you're always going to be seeing these elements here. On the top right corner, I see here the cover of the journal, Head and Neck, and an indication saying early view. What does it mean? Well, it means that this is the online version of record before the inclusion of an issue. So this is very recent content that before it becomes part of the latest issue of the journal, it's already available here for you. So you have access to the most recent, latest research. And if we scroll down a bit, I find the content itself, the article itself here in HTML format, pardon me. So I could scroll down and navigate it. Please note that you also have the section button. So if I want to go straight to the discussion or the conclusion, I could just click there and it takes me straight to the conclusion. Now, some of you may prefer to access this in PDF version, right? In that case, please note that on the center top of the screen, you have a PDF button. So if I click that, it takes me to the PDF version of it. So as you may imagine, like any other PDF, this is something that I could download or print. If I want to do any of those things, I should go to the top right corner. I can click here on download and download the document. So this would be downloading it to my laptop. And then I can print it or share it via email, anything, right? Here sometimes you also have a share access, which requires you to agree on the terms of conditions. They may be slightly different depending on some of the conditions of the article, but this allows you to share as well. And this is what we call an enhanced PDF. What does it mean? Well, it means that you could do a couple of extra things, like zoom in, so really convenient when you're working with your tablet or your phone or small screen devices, or zoom out. I could also change here the reading flow. To, personalize a bit more the reading experience. And so also something I could do would be run a search within. So if I'm looking, for instance, for a particular word, like bone, I could click my word here, type it, and run a search. And I can see that there's 59 instances of this keyword. And if I click on the arrows, I see that this term is highlighted. So that's really useful. Something else that I have here is on the left side. I have some extra information. I just want to show this again in case I went too fast. I click on these two arrows on the top left corner. And here you're going to find some recap, some broad information about the article and the journal. If I go to the outline, you may find a table of contents that could help you also navigate. Right, very convenient. If I go to materials, I'll find a summary of any figures. And sometimes we even have supplements. In this case, they're not available, but you may run into them from time to time. Finally, we have the links section. This is interesting. Why? Well, if you are doing literature review, if you are just browsing, gathering information about a topic, and you run into an article that is extremely helpful to you, you may want to dig a little bit more and get more information about it. So this section could be useful. Here you'll find a list of references with links to Google Scholar, Crossref, PubMed, Web of Science, and other sources. Similarly, you'll find a list of citations. Again, let's remember these were just published yesterday, so it didn't have the chance quite yet to get cited. And we also have a list of recommended reading. So very helpful for literature review. Let's get back to where we were, because I want to show you a couple of useful things you may want to do with an article. If you want to know how to cite, you could go to the section Tools, which is right here, and go to Export Citation. So if I go to Export Citation, I'm going to be able to do two things. The first thing is how to cite. So right here, I see how to cite. This is something I could just copy and paste. The citation style is APA 6th edition. So sometimes during presentations, I am asked, what about if we want to use a different style? No problem. You could download the citation. And if you have the appropriate software installed, if you're using a manager software to manage your citations, you could just download these in different formats and import this into Mendeley, which is something that I hear very often. Could you take this? Could you import it to Mendeley? Yes, we could. And you could also change the style once you have it downloaded. Please note that you have a number of recommendations and tips here on the right side of the screen that could be helpful. I'm just going to go back to where we were, show you something that could be helpful too. Sometimes I get asked if we could download the images. Absolutely yes. We saw that this article had different figures, right? So on the right side of the screen, on the top right, I see a section of figures. This is, again, a recap, a summary of all the figures we have. So imagine that you want one of this, because perhaps you're doing a presentation for class or for a conference, and you would like to use one of these images. Well, below each figure, I have a click here, a link to PowerPoint. So I'm just going to click there and download this image. Now I'm going to open it. And as you can see, it took just a few seconds to download. And here I have now the image on a PowerPoint slide. I'm going to maximize my screen for you to better see it. And not only I have the image in high resolution, I also have the title. I didn't even have to copy the title. And further below, you should be able to see that I also have, the source, the citation right there on the bottom. So that's kind of ideal, right? I don't have to figure that out. It's already there. Great, so very useful functionality here. I want to run a search because I want to show you a little bit about Altmetric and a little bit about where to find the impact factor information. So let's run a search together. I'm going to go back to the home page, and one easy way of doing that is by clicking on the top left corner where I find the logo Wiley Online Library. So here, for instance, I'm just going to go ahead and access one of the journals that you have access to, which is arthritis. Okay, arthritis and rheumatology. So as you can see, as soon as I start typing, I get some suggestions about journals, books, authors, or other that include the words that I'm typing. I see that the journal that I'm looking for is shown right here, arthritis and rheumatology. So I can just go ahead and select it. And this is loading, but it's just taking me straight to the journal page. Now that I'm in the journal page, there's a number of things that I can see, right? Once again, on the top left corner, I see the banner of the branding of the journal, Arthritis and Rheumatology, an official journal of the American College of Rheumatology. I can see the editor's name here. The impact factor, this is where I see it. And also I can see the position within the journal citation reports provided by Clarivate Analytics. I see that this is number 3 among 31 journals related to rheumatology. So this would give me an understanding, a better understanding of the relevancy that this journal could have in this field. On the top right corner, I see the latest issue. So if I just want to go ahead and take a look and see what was the latest thing that, latest articles, I could just click here and explore the latest issue. But something I want to do before doing that is just scrolling down. Here you could find some information about, this journal, a brief description. And further down, I see the most recent articles and the most cited articles. Intentionally, I'm going to get one of the most cited articles because there's something else that I want to show you for this. So I'm just going to pick this one on rheumatoid arthritis classification criteria. And I want to show you some information that could be also important to better understand the visibility and the impact of a particular article, right? I want you to notice that this article was published in August 2010. Again, it's one of the most cited articles published by this specific journal. And I see a couple of things here. Next to the DOI, I see the number of citations, over 3,000. That's a great amount of citations, right? Oh, it seems that I'm having a little bit of an issue here. So let me go back. Sorry about that. It seems that you're no longer seeing my screen. Thank you so much for flagging this. Let me try this again. Just 1 second while I share my screen again. Okay, almost there. And I don't think I'm there yet. So just give me another second, please. Okay. I'm just going to go back to screen share. In the meantime, if you have any questions about anything that I was just sharing, please feel free to use the chat and post any questions.
Hi, Ali. By the time the screen refreshes, there are certain questions. Probably you can answer them. Shall I just give you the first one?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a few seconds here, a few minutes to address some of the questions.
Perfect. So there's always a question says, what's the difference between free access, open access, and full access?
Oh, that's a great question. So free access is access that is not behind a paywall, so it's always for free, available to anyone, not necessarily always, but it is for free, available to anyone, anywhere in the world. That would be the case, for instance, of all the content related to coronavirus or COVID-19 that right now, in a temporary way, is available to anyone, regardless of subscriptions, right? So that would be an example of free access. Open access relates to a type of publication, which is not a subscription-based publication. So it's a different way of publishing content in which you don't require a subscription to the journal. It's always available to any reader. And finally, full access would be that content that your institution is subscribed to. So every time you see full access, that means that your institution, your consortium is subscribed to that content. I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Rishabh, there are a few questions coming your way. The first one says, how many medical journals are accessible currently through Ermed Consortium?
Yes. So currently, Ermed Consortium has 53 Wiley journals, and all the 70 members have access to all these 53 journals of Wiley. So that's it. And yeah,
sure.
I see that there is an additional question from the same person. Can we access other journals in Wiley which are not subscribed by the consortium? So in terms of the new journals, the institution needs to actually recommend those titles to the HQ, to the NML, National Medical Library. And whenever we basically have an arrangement with them for the renewal of the subscription next year or in subsequent years, and if it goes for a discussion wherein we can maybe have some titles added into the collection, then it can be basically discussed accordingly. But right now, yeah, there are 53 journals accessible.
Great. Hello, the next one is for you.
Okay.
The audience, the question is, please tell again about the impact factor. So somebody wants to know more about the impact factor.
Definitely. Let me try to go back to the live demo again to be able to show you where to find that information. So let me test this. Okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
It's taking time to load, Khalid.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Not yet on my side.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Maybe like by the time it refresh, maybe to give that audience a little more background about the impact factor. Yeah, that'll be great.
Yes, absolutely. So the best way to find information about the impact factor would be by going to a journals page. So you could do this by running a search from the main page, the home page, and just typing, as I did, if you know the name of the journal, you could just do that. Or if you type any keywords, that would take you to the results page in which you can find the journal as well. As you may remember when I was doing the first example, once you find an article and you access the article, you're always going to find the banner to that journal and the name of the journal on the top left side of the screen. So when you click there, it takes you to the journal page, and it's on the journal page where you find any information relevant to the editor-in-chief, or if it's associated to any society, the impact factor information, the position in the journal citation reports, etc.
Great. Rishabh, there is a question, and probably while addressing, you can also extend it further. It's more related to remote access. The person in the audience has asked, if we do not have access from our institution and we want to download the articles by sitting at home, like this lockdown period, then what should be done? So this is from an institution who doesn't have access. Probably you can also take it forward, Rishabh, while addressing that how remote access can be done while during this lockdown period.
Sure. So this is basically a combination of two questions. So just to answer the first one first, in case if your institution is not part of the Ermed consortium, which means basically the 70 institutions or the member colleges which are currently part of this arrangement, if your institution is not part of it, then in general the access will not be available. But in case if the institution becomes part of this arrangement or is currently part of it, remote access can be provided by two ways. The first one can be that your institution has a remote access facility through which our journals can be made available by integrating that remote access platform with our platform. Secondly, it can be done by way of username and password. So we have recently, in fact, shared with the National Medical Library the list of login credentials for all the 70 Ermed members. So by way of using those login credentials, the Wiley content made available in Ermed consortium can be accessed. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thanks, Rishabh. There was one more question. Yeah, probably it was more repeat of what you've shown earlier. It was more about how do you take images on a presentation. I'm not sure if we are live again. We can try and see if we are back. Then we can address that question.
Yeah, I can definitely address that again. Are you able to see my screen now? I believe we are. Good. Yes. Excellent. Well, thank you for bearing with me. Yeah, so let's take another look at that because that's a great trick, right? I love explaining how to download figures and images because that's always helpful. So again, normally every time you access any article, you're always going to find the same buttons and elements. In this case, on the right side of the screen, again, I accessed this article before that was one of the most cited articles. I picked this on purpose to show you the number of citations here and to show you the almetric information that I'm going to be showing you in a couple of seconds. But if you scroll down a bit, you'll find this section with figures, references, related, and information. So if you go to figures, you'll find all the figures that are part of this article. And here you could just click here on PowerPoint, for instance, for this figure, number 1. Click here on PowerPoint. And as soon as you do that, it downloads the image as a PowerPoint. And already with the slide, with the title, with the source, everything, right? So as you can see, I didn't have this ready. I'm just doing it here live, and it takes a few seconds. So here, once again, I'm able to see the image in high resolution, the title, and the citation. It's pretty convenient to use for any presentation or project. Again, this is the section figures, that if there's any figures available, you'd always be seeing here on the right side of the screen for an article page. There's something else that I want to show you, which is in the information section, almetric. So almetric may not be well known or maybe something that everyone knows about, but it's incredibly powerful. So I always like including this. If you click here, actually just by hovering over the almetric button, I can read that this article has been picked up by one news outlet, blogged by one person, referenced in one policy sources, tweeted by 2, and much more. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this button, which is going to take me to another page. And
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think users are still not able to see the screen. I can see not many questions on the chat box or remarks in the chat box saying that they are not able to see the screen.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thanks for flagging. Let me check again what may be happening.
Ellie, there is a orange.
Yep.
There is an orange button on the right side, screen share. Have you tried clicking on it?
I'm gonna do this now.
Okay.
All right. Are we back?
I can't see it any so far. Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. What about now?
No. But I see a lot of questions are coming in, Ellie.
Yeah.
Maybe we try addressing them. Yep. There is a question saying that can I download multiple papers at the same time?
Okay, yes, let's address some of the pending questions.
Yeah.
So
Am I audible to you? It says, the first question says, can I download multiple papers at the same time?
Could you say that again? Pardon me, I couldn't hear you properly, Mohit. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. It says, one of the participants is asking, can I download multiple papers, like 10 papers at the same time?
If we could have, I'm so sorry again. Could you go again with the question?
Okay, no worries. I'll take that forward. Currently, it has to be downloaded one by one. There is no download manager to download multiple articles or the journal articles in one go. Yeah. So that's the question. I hope I've addressed that. No worries. Rishabh, the next question is coming your way. It says, can we access previous year articles, and what's the duration of the access in terms of years? Is it rolling 4 years, 5 years? So that's the question.
That's a very nice question. Along with the current year content, for example, if we are talking about 2020 content as the current year offering, Wiley gives access for the last 22 years of archives generally. So from the year 1997, you will have access to all the content for the mentioned journals, for all the 53 journals. So it's like along with the current year, for the last 22 years, all the content will be available for access.
Great. Rishabh, there is another one. It says that are all journals since inception accessible, or is there a time bound, like from a specific year? So it's more like an extension to what you addressed.
Yeah, so the access is from 1997, as I said, within the subscription period. Anything prior to that basically falls under deep archives, or what we basically call back files. So if you're talking about content from volume 1, issue 1 till December 1996, that basically falls under a different product model called back files, and that's not accessible within the consortium, has to be considered separately. So for example, if a title Head and Neck got started in 1935, then their first volume would be in 1935, the month of January, for example. Then the content from January till December 1996, all that content is currently not accessible under the giver arrangement. That falls under back files.
Great. Thanks, Rishabh. Let me just have a final look at.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any other questions that we want to address. I also believe that my screen is back, which is excellent news.
Perfect. We can continue then.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for this break for questions. It was probably great so that we didn't have to wait too long to address those. Thank you again for your collaboration and for submitting all those great questions. And what you see now on screen is the information provided by Almetric. So I know citations are important, but I wanted to share this with you because it's also a very powerful tool to measure the impact and visibility of content beyond typical citations. So what you can see here for this article is how this has been shared in news outlets, policy sources, Twitter, Facebook, Mendeley, others, right? So I can see that this particular article was cited over 3,000 times on Dimensions, and I'm looking at the figures on the left side. I also see that there were over 2,000 readers on Mendeley. It was cited, appearing twice in Site You Like, also on Twitter, and even you can find like some maps here showing where your readers are. So if you have published an article with Wiley and you want to check the Altmetrics section and see the impact that it may be having, that is really interesting. Or for any article that has some activity within Altmetric, you could always come here and explore this, right? So very, very interesting.
Audience still can't see the screen. I see a lot of remarks still coming in.
Yeah, I apologize because it seems that it's been a bit glitchy on my end, so I'm sorry about that, but that was really everything I wanted to explain about Altmetrics. So I really hope that was helpful. Because the last bit that we want to mention, and I know we're kind of running out of time, so I want to make sure that we have some more time for questions. Are there any other questions that we want to address now?
Nothing much. We've taken most of the questions. I've given a last glance to the chat box. No further add-ons. But just wanted to make a remark here that we definitely have another session coming in for the Ermed consortium members. So probably some of the things which we are not able to showcase, probably we'll be requesting Ellie to touch upon that in the forthcoming session also. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We're hosting another session where we're going to be able to cover much more. This is just the beginning. So again, I'm just checking again. See if you can see my screen.
Final try.
I would say that the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about today was accessing online books, which it just works the same way. We were searching for content. All these functionalities that we were seeing for journals are the same for online books. So that would be my last kind of piece of information, right, or recommendations. Is the same way we perform searches, and I was able to locate a journal. This is by using the search bar. You can also locate any other online books, and the same way we have a PDF functionality that allows you to download the journal article. You could also find the same button to download a full chapter for an online book or the full book. So really, all these things that we were finding, all these little buttons that we were finding is the same that we were able to find for online books as well. So probably, again, I just want to do a quick recap here and share with you a couple of other resources that are useful for researchers. Are you able to see my slides now?
No, I can't see that.
Okay.
I'm just checking on it.
Yes. Okay, so the last bit that I wanted to share with you was some useful resources for authors and researchers. So the first thing that I want to mention
is... the screen is visible now.
Excellent. So what I'm showing on my slides now is author services. So author services is an excellent resource if you are thinking about publishing, or even if you just, you're not there yet, but you want to get more information about how it works, what to expect, the different stages within the publication of an article. So author services is an excellent resource for you to visit. Most of the information that we have here is for free, right? Some of the services that we have, like Journal Finder, are also available at no cost for all researchers. So I would definitely encourage you to check that out if you're thinking about publishing at some point. There's also useful information about open access or how to promote your published article. So the link is right there on the screen. And then the other useful resource that you could have is Wiley Editing Services. So this is a number of tools and resources that, again, available for authors and researchers to help you improve the quality of your manuscript. Things like data visualization, formatting or translation are available to you. So if you're interested in that type of support, it's available within Wiley Editing Services. And finally, the last thing that I wanted to share with you is my email address. In case something, it wasn't fully clear, or you have further questions that you would like to ask privately, just please feel free to reach out. My email address is on screen here. I would love to hear from you. So just, feel free to contact if you have any further questions. Although I'm happy to, again, stay on the line a couple of extra minutes and see if we have any other pending questions.
Give me a second. Nothing much, Ellie. No. Yeah, I think we've addressed most of the questions. So, Ellie, anything you want to add before we wrap up the session?
Yes. So my recommendation would be, now that we have this relatively fresh, I would definitely encourage you to go and check the Wiley Online Library, because it's a good way to practice some of the things that we reviewed together. I would encourage you to just go ahead, go on the homepage, try to browse content the way I did, and see some of the journals that you have access to, see some of the articles that you may find, explore the COVID-19 or coronavirus page with over 5,000 resources, or try to run a search and just, get familiar with the filters and find some of the information that I share with you, right? Like Altmetric, or where to find the impact factor. And I would also encourage you to join us next time that we are running the next webinar. We're going to be doing a little bit more advanced search. So we'll be digging into the advanced search and applying certain filters and using Boolean operators. So stay tuned, and I hope we see you next time. And again, thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be able to spend a full hour with you, telling you about the Wiley Online Library. I hope it was helpful, and I hope we see you around again.
Great. Thanks, Ellie, for taking time to share your experience. Our extreme apologies for the technology glitch. And like Ellie said, we got definitely touch base some of the topics which form the fundamentals or foundation of the advanced searches that we're going to see in the next session. And wanted to add before I close up the session, any queries that you have regarding the content accessibility, feel free to write to Ellie as she shared her email address. You can also drop queries to Dr. Casey Singh. He's the consortium coordinator for Ermed, and he's the primary lead there. So you can drop in your queries to there, and we are in constant touch with him, and we'll be able to address those queries directly. So with that note, I would like to finally thank everyone for joining. And again, I hope you find this session useful, and we look forward to having you in the forthcoming session for Ermed members. Thank you once again.